game. Coach RB, Coach CB. Area code 459.
What up, area code 459? It's your boy, Coach B. I'm here with my co-host, Coach CB. What's up, CB?
What's up, Coach? How you doing?
Man, I'm blessed, man. We got a special something for you today. But before we get there, man, we want to say thank you to some people. Man, I want to shout out In-House Inc. for our fire logo behind us. Also, J-Made Craft for your household craft-made items. And then also my guy, George Frost from East Bay, putting the 459 logo on your famous Nike and Jordan brands. But last but not least, I definitely got to give a shout out to my man Kobe, because I'm rocking him today. But also, man, to our family, man. Our family's been doing a lot for us, been standing behind us, being our driving force behind what we're doing, and we really appreciate them. So all the people that support us and love us, we love you back.
Man, I'm so excited. Fire me up today. We have a third episode of The Standard. Today we're talking about professional versus personal life. A lot of times people get these things really mixed up and clouded, and they merge them together. But we believe that they're two separate things, and we want to come together today and talk to you about the difference between the two, and then kind of break it down on what we think they should be. And our sub points for this today is communication and appearance. And when you look at our two sub points, I just want to start off with this, Coach B. What does it mean to walk the walk and talk the talk in your professional and personal life?
Man, dude, that's a good question. And I'm glad that I wore my Kobe shirt, because that's what it's about, man, that Mamba mentality. It's like when you walk the walk and you talk the talk, man, you do what you do and you back it up, man. That's just point blank period, man. And I think Kobe was a symbol of that. All the things that you saw on the floor that he could do at the end of the game, through the course of a season, through championship runs, even when his team was down, he still did some remarkable things like scoring 81 and then also scoring 60 plus in his last game. It's because of his hard work. It's because of the things that he did off the court. He walked the walk. He's like, I'm going to be great because I put in the time. But then on top of that, man, I always remember a Kobe moment where he was sitting on the free throw line. And he's betting like, how much you want? 500,000, $500,000? You know what I mean? I'll make this shot right now. And he talked that talk. He could back up his excellence because he knew he put the work in. So what does that look like when you talk about professionalism and personal life, when you talk about appearance and when you talk about communication? Be who you are. I really I like this saying that I used to get, man, and when I used to coach, and it was, let your no's be no's and let your yeses be yeses. You know what I mean? Like, mean what you say and say what you mean, and then also live that out at the same time. So, my big thing is, man, for the appearance side of it is be you, but for the communication side of it, man, talk the talk, stand by it, stand on your own 2 feet and do your thing.
I love that you brought up Kobe, because you know how much he means to me, man. And I remember watching that game, that 60-point game, because I was flipping back and forth between the Warriors and Kobe, because the Warriors were setting the record, Kobe was setting the record. I couldn't decide what game to watch, but I'm so glad that you brought that up, because Kobe doesn't mean a lot, and he's a great example for what walking the walk and talking the talk means. And to me, like, I want my life to reflect what I say, and I want what I say to reflect how I live my life. Inky Johnson, I always bring him up, but he says, like, don't be public success, but then when you go home, you're being a failure in your house. Like, you act one way when you're out the doors, but when you come into your home, you're completely different. Like, you need to be consistent with who you are, no matter where you're at, no matter who you're around, no matter what you're doing, and everybody will start to see that. Like, they will know exactly your character, what you stand for. And I think it comes full circle, professional and personal life. I think you have to be a little bit more rigid when it comes to your standards and stuff in the professional life versus your personal life, just because of the way you talk to people and the way you look and the way you dress, just because there's a different level of professionalism. And I don't know, I wouldn't wear shorts and a t-shirt to my corporate job.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, if I'm going to go into a neighborhood and impact kids, I'm not going to wear a suit. Does that make sense? Like, I want to still be comfortable and be able to be in an environment where I can be myself, but at the same time still stand in a place where I can command respect, and people know exactly what they're going to get from me.
Got you. And as you just kind of leverage that, like, at one point you say, you're going to be wearing shorts. And in another standpoint, you might wear a suit. In your corporate job, you might have the business suit on. And for your and for your neighborhood job, you might have your shorts on, your t-shirt, your hoodie, or whatever. With that being said, you talked about kind of like appearance wise. What about the demeanor though? Should you have a different demeanor when it comes to your professional life and your personal life?
I think how you carry yourself is the way you carry yourself. It doesn't matter where you're at. I was talking to somebody the other day and about relationships, and I was like, yeah, between jobs, between careers and environments, I still think that building a relationship should happen the same way no matter what. Like, if I'm a doctor, I still want to be able to build good relationships with my patients, because the more comfortable that they feel with me, the more that they're going to trust my care and my scope of practice. They're going to want to continue to come back to me because I'm friendly, I'm nice, I talk to them, I hear them out, I listen to what they have to say, I make them feel welcome and important when I'm in that room. I don't just rush in, rush out, and leave. Same thing when it comes to like me being a coach. I don't want to just rush in, rush out of practice, get it done, and just leave because I don't want to be there. Like, I want to build relationships and hold my demeanor the same way. I want everybody to feel important. I want everybody to feel like they have value and that I am there to listen to them. I'm there to help them see the importance in themselves. I'm not just there because I need a paycheck. Like, that's not what a job is. And your demeanor shouldn't be different, especially when I go home. Like, we give so much of ourselves out when we're working, when we're at our job, when we're coaching, when we're doing all these things to like our jobs and everything, all these things when we're not at the house. And a lot of times we give it all out so we don't have anything to bring back home,
Right.
And we have to make sure that whatever we give out, we still have enough to continue giving out when we go home, because our family are the ones that live with us. They support us. They sacrifice for us. And if we're not treating them the same way that we would treat those that we're serving out in the community or out in our job, then it's going to be hard when you come home. Like, you want to serve and love and care for those that do the same for you. And if I can do it for someone that doesn't do that for me, then how come I can't do it for the ones that do?
Man, what's crazy is thank you for putting that last little point on there, that last little spin about, if you give, out in your job, you should have some to take back home. But, I'm gonna put it from this standpoint of, there's been times that I was down at my job, and it was actually worse when I was winning. And people are like, oh man, what? It's supposed to be more fun when you're winning. But no, when you're winning, there's an expectation. There's a little bit more anxiety. There's a little bit more oomph that you're trying to get done. And what I noticed is the years after those winning years were tough on me, because I was trying to do the same exact thing from those winning years. So it became more of a transactional thing versus a relationship type thing. So, as a, outside of coaching now and in the corporate world, one thing I love that my boss and my bosses stress about is, taking care of yourself, taking care of your family. Family's number one. So I don't know if I would put it from the standpoint of, when you're giving so much to somebody else, make sure you have some left. No. Give what you want left first, and then whatever you can give to outside people, give it to them second. So when I come home, I'm saying, hey, my house, my family, you guys deserve 75% of me today. That means, world, you only get 25% of me. Now you're going to get the best 25%, but at the same time, my family got 75% first. I think if you put those type of things in perspective, you will do a little bit better in your personal life and your professional life. Now, as far as demeanor, people talk about like, being polite, being well-spoken, how you treat other people. To be honest with you, all of mine are the same. And the reason why is because when I just told you those differences of when I was winning and when I wasn't, I remember those years when I was winning, it was real transactional. It was real, we got to get this done. We got to be successful, this, and this. And you kind of would step over some people or bypass some people. and really miss out on that opportunity to connect with others. And the reason why I'm saying this is because I feel now in my corporate job, I'm bringing the same energy that I'm bringing from home to the job. I'm bringing the same smile from home to the job. Home is where it starts. Home is our foundation. Home is where, I make sure Jesus is in my heart when I walk out the door. I make sure I start every day with a grateful heart. I make sure I start every day with a smile. And I feel that if I could leverage those things at home, when I go out in the professional world, it's easy. So it's easy to have a good conversation. I just had a conversation with a colleague, and I was sitting in a park and I answered my phone. But the good thing about it was I was sitting at the park, hanging with my family, smiling, enjoying the sun. But I was able to pick up that phone call from my colleague, and I brightened her day by giving her the response on the other end of that phone conversation. You see what I'm saying? So when you look at it like, hey, I took the time, spent it with my family, grateful heart, smiling face, and then when I picked up the phone to have a work conversation, it made it even better. And I felt like I'm accomplished something in that work call. So like I said, where it's at with demeanor, if anybody, is taking something from this, definitely choose your family first, give them their percentage, and then give the world whatever you have left over. Caitlin, this is one of your favorite topics, man. I gotta hear this. As we're talking about appearances, as we're talking about family, as we're talking about mixing it up with people at work, what are some of your top qualities on communicators and communication?
I think one is it's vulnerability. I think a lot of times people have a hard time with communication because they're not willing to be open and honest about, one, what they're dealing with, or two, things that they need help with. I think a lot of people don't communicate because they're afraid to ask for help, or they just don't want to ask for help because they don't like it. They feel like they're good on their own. But like, God made us all to need somebody, need a partner to help us, and people are great when it comes to that, because I don't know how to do everything. You don't know how to do everything. But when we come together, we're a lot better because we're able to complement each other's weaknesses and what we don't know how to do. And so I think one, communication and qualities of top communicators is they're not afraid to ask for help. I think a second one is that, again, I said open and honest. Like they know when to have tough conversations, and they know how to approach those tough conversations. I think when you're a top communicator, you're not a blamer. You're one that looks at the facts, looks at the details, and goes from there and kind of puts all the pieces together and figures out a solution to the problem instead of figuring out another problem to the problem. If that makes sense. And I think those are the two biggest things. Like, you're not afraid to ask for help, and you're solution minded. You're willing to take somebody and have a tough conversation, figure out a solution, and try and work it out and do better, and then move on from there. And if there needs to be a reevaluation, you're not afraid to fail. Like, we're willing to reevaluate that which you tried before. And if it doesn't work, find another solution or figure out what you're going to do and have that tough conversation again. Or if it did work, then bring it back in and praise people for it. Like, your idea was great, And I think that's great communication quality is you're not afraid to ask for help. You're able to have tough conversations. You're able to reevaluate, praise, or find another solution and go from there.
Man, all you guys are sitting out there, this is one of the greatest communicators I've ever met. She's young, she's getting it, she's doing her thing, but at the same time, that was some definitely big nuggets from Caitlin on communication. So you got to rewind the tape, rewind that, go back and get that. All I'm going to say on communicating is just recognize the value of your communication. It's crazy because I've been told, and CB, I'm a little bit older than you, and I've been told in my dating life, I've been married before, and it's like, how can you say something to me in one tone and then go out there and say it to somebody in your professional world in a total different tone? And with that, what I had to notice is, I'm like, if I'm value, right, who I'm talking to, and I value my message, then my tone should be the same in both spaces, or even to me a little bit better at home anyway. In my personal life. But I noticed that, I was so in my professional life tiptoeing and not wanting to be fired or making sure I have insurance. And I was putting so much emphasis on that when I was home or with my personal, people that I wasn't treating the communication the same way. The other thing is, you know, hey, if I got to be out of school or if I got to be out of work, what do? Put my day in, set up my lesson plan, communicate to the person next door to me, or communicate to my boss I'm not going to be here. You know what I mean? I'm going to tell them, hey, this is what's going on. I got to let you know. But then when you at home or in your professional or in your personal world, you got something bothering you, you got to take a step back or you got to go breathe a minute. You just shut down and you just shut up. You see what I'm saying? And really, I think your communication loses value. So definitely definitely value your message. Definitely value your message. And the other thing is sometimes saying little is a little bit better. I think sometimes you can over communicate, and sometimes over communicating can either push an idea that you might have had that was a little bit later down the road that hasn't evolved or developed for the person you're talking to, or sometimes you didn't give them the opportunity to reevaluate, to reassess, to rethink, and you over talk them. So be careful on over communication too. And that's one thing that I learned in the corporate world. I work for a big educational firm, and one of our top components of competencies is we have to be really succinct and direct and to the point. Because when people are moving throughout their day, you don't want them to have to read your stuff, reread your stuff, reread your stuff, and then have to ask you a question about what you're trying to say. You want to try to be straight to the point and kind of snip it down. So I say at the same time in your personal life, you could do that too. What's wrong with these 3 words? I love you. It's simple, right? It's simple. I love you. This is what it is, right? What's so hard about it? This, I'm about to be late. You know what I mean? Or, hey, can we do this tonight? Or what would you like for dinner? Like, these are just small snippets of how you can be just direct and say, hey, this is what it is. Now, I know, for the lack of what we're talking about, I'm not going to jump into these deep conversations. I'm not over here saying I'm a marriage counselor, relationship counselor, nothing like that. But what I'm saying is good communicators value their message, and they also, make it clear, because sometimes the clarity of your message shows the respect and the value of what you're trying to say.
I love that you say that. And I want to add one more thing, but I know a lot of people struggle with communication. I just want to add this one tip. For me, the thing that helped me get better at communication is I started talking to myself. I know people think that you're crazy when you talk to yourself, but if I learn how to have hard conversations with myself, if I learn how to say, oh shoot, I'm about to be late for work. Okay, that thought, that me talking to myself makes me then look at the situation and say, oh dang, then I need to communicate that with who I'm going to. You know what I mean? And talking to myself allowed me to kind of process out loud, 1, how I'm feeling, and 2, that I actually need to communicate with somebody else.
Good stuff. Man, what type of limits should you put on yourself when it comes to professional life, and what's the importance of a work-life balance?
Great question. Limits. I think when it comes to professional life, for me, I limit when I talk to people. I don't talk to people outside of my inner circle after 9:30 at night, just because I have that boundary. I work in a space where it's a predominantly male environment, and I want to make sure that I'm being respectful of each gender, and then at the same time I want to be respectful of myself. So I try and set that standard where I'm not going to text my players, I'm not going to text coaching staff, people around me after 9:30, and I think that's a great limit. It's a boundary, and it allows you to have some type of accountability. Obviously, if it's an emergency, it calls for a different level of care, but that's one of my limits. And when it comes to my personal life, I honestly think it's how you talk to people. Like, I don't want, like, I know I can talk to you one way, but I can't turn around and talk to, say, my dad another way. Like, he has a different level of respect and authority in my life. And I think there's certain limits when it comes to how you communicate with people, and you just have to know those boundaries and those limits. And especially, like, I'm really big on appearance. Like, I don't want, like, my face comes into play when it comes to my appearance, and I don't want to just risque around people, especially, like I just said, I'm in a male environment, so I don't want to cause other people to fail or fault at something that they might be struggling with, because I want people to see who I am, you know, and I'd rather them see my personality, my spirit, my soul, the things I love and care about, versus like what I look like. It doesn't matter in the long scheme of things, because they might not remember who I am, like, but they'll always remember how I made them feel. And so that's how I feel about my appearance. Like, I want my appearance to help people feel comfortable. I don't want them to look and like shy away because I'm not dressed appropriately, or I'm making them feel in a way that I don't even know that they're struggling with. And so that's where I put limits on. It's like, when I get dressed or when I talk to people, I just want them to know, like, okay, Kaylin cares about them. Like, she's respectful. She's personable. She cares about everything. And that comes off in how I dress, how I talk, how I treat people, you know, and that's kind of the limits that I have. I always try and think about how I do things and how it's going to affect other people as well as myself, and how I want people to perceive me. And the importance of work-life balance, I had to learn this one at a young age, because especially when it comes to basketball, I hate being bad at things. And when I first started playing basketball, I was terrible. Like, you remember the first day I started playing, and my mom used to tell me, she's like, when are you coming home? Like, she's like, you have to eat, you have to sleep, you have to take care of your body. I was like, I don't know when I'm coming home, because all I care about is getting better at basketball. But I started putting off my family because my work was more important than the people that cared about me. And I had to learn that. And that was one thing when I went to college, I really had to learn that, because basketball honestly became a job when I went to college. And then I had school and I also worked. And now it's like, when do I find time for myself? When do I find time to rest? Yes, I love basketball, but at the end of the day, like, I'm stretching myself so much that I don't have any energy left to do the things that I love. So that's when I had to find that balance. I had to find, okay, I'm up here in Atlanta right now. I have a day job. I have a night job. I also coach. So when am I spending time for myself? And Saturday is that day. And like, sometimes I'll pick up shifts. I'm just like, I know the reason why I'm doing it, because in the future I might be taking some time off, and so I'm trying to make up for it now. But I know that Saturday is that day that I have to take off to refresh, relax, recoup, get ready for the next myself. So it's very important to have a work-life balance, because at the end of the day, like, you can work yourself to death, and you're going to miss out on all the opportunity and all the fun and all the joy that life has to bring if you're not focused, if you don't have that standard for yourself, if you don't have that set in place and scheduled into your week.
Nice. And I'm glad that we put this in the standard, because this is definitely like something that it probably drives a lot of young students, a lot of young professionals nuts. It's like, I'm trying to prove myself in the workplace, but then again, I'm trying to prove myself at the house too. You know what I mean? I'm trying to prove myself at the workplace, but I'm also trying to have a life. So which is which? And, you know, we've heard so many different stories, you know, from different coaches, you and I definitely, of, you know, coaches that went up and down the road, drive in the middle of the night, sleep on the floor at AAU, be all night working on film, wake up in the morning, let kids in the gym, you know what I mean? And all these different things to get ahead. You want to know why I know that? It's because I've done that. I've done that. I live that life. And there's nothing wrong with that if that's what you want to do. But what I'm trying to get people to understand is, you'll do all that. It's like working 365 days. And I know as athletes, we look at this from a holistic standpoint. We'll work our butt off for 6 weeks, 6 days. I play college football. 6 days we'll hit it so hard just for that glorious few moments on Saturday. From a basketball standpoint, you'll work all year round for the 14 minutes of play that you have, that you're really going up and down the court. With that being said, I'm glad that you said boundaries. My other thing would be importance. Like, your job is not more important than who you are. And honestly, if you would put that in perspective, the professionalism of what you do at your job will get better. Give you an example, like with me, I rank my job, God, family, entrepreneurship, my education, jobs like 5th, maybe even 6th, maybe even 7th, if I really wrote it down. But with that being said, is I know when I go into my job, those top 5 things that I just said before, 6, all have to come up. When I'm speaking, is God coming out? when I'm speaking, am I representing myself in the way that my family wants me to represent myself? When I'm speaking or when I'm in my professional career, would you buy from me? Would you leverage me as a consultant? Would you use me if it was just me and my name, right? So with all that being said, I put all the things on that list first, and it just drives me in my professional world. When it comes to the importance of work-life balance, you don't know what your life's like if you don't ever take steps to live your life. You know what I mean? With that being said, how do you know which 6 or 5 to put before your job if they're not part of your life, right? So if you take those, you're not using God, if you're not utilizing God, if you're not utilizing family, or you're a loner, if you're not really trying to get into any business for yourself, if you're not a reader and all this, you'll bypass those 4 and you'll go straight to work. And then that's what a lot of people, and especially people listening to this today, that's what you do first. Is the back when you get up, you're thinking, work. And then ultimately you run yourself ragged and you work yourself to death. You know what I mean? I think that I kind of leverage a little bit of my passion and what I do is because sometimes when I used to wake up and open the gym early in the morning, people would be like, oh, well, why are you getting up so early? Well, it's because I got 3 players that said they want to go to college. I got 3 players that I like to make sure that their dreams come true. And it wasn't work to me. You know what I mean? It wasn't work. That was my craft. I was getting up because I was working on my craft. So when you look at those 3 things, I woke up, God was on my heart and on my mind, took care of family. That 3rd thing was entrepreneurship. That's my craft. That's what I do. I do what I do. You know what I mean? So when you really look at the perspective of things, work-life balance, you will put things ahead of certain things that's more important. What I leverage for work-life balance is, I take weekends off. We do podcasts and record on weekends, but once again, that's not work to us. This is a craft. This is fun. This is what we do. So, you know what I mean? At the same time, I make sure that my weekends are filled with family. I make sure that my weekends and my everyday, I spend with God. And then the 3rd thing is my entrepreneurship. And guess what? That literally is a small little bit of my weekend, of my rest time anyway. So, I just want people, especially people that are listening to this, to understand that when you look at your personal life and you rank things with more clarity, and you also put boundaries on it, like Caitlin said, you definitely would prioritize something a little bit different. Caitlin, how has your upbringing helped you with professionalism?
I'm gonna start with my mama. My mom never let me say yeah or y'all. She always made me say yes or yes, ma'am. Anybody I talk to, I don't care if I said it around her or if I said it to her, she would always correct me. She'd be like, yeah. And I get so mad. I'd be like, yes, mom, yes, ma'am. And I get a little attitude, but I never understood the value behind that until I got older. And I think that's one, is she taught me how to speak to people. She taught me how to be professional, but not professional was the word, but she always taught me respect. And in my opinion, respect is the same thing as professionalism. Like, I want to be respectful of the environment that I'm in, the people around me. So she taught me respect. She taught me how to respect everybody around me. When it came to my stepdad, he taught me how to do the best job that I could at everything that I could do. And I feel like that's professionalism. If you're going to hire me, you're expecting to get somebody that's going to come in, do 110% effort, and give you everything that she has for that task. You're not going to pay somebody to come in and do a 50% job. You're not going to want them to come in and paint your house, half of it's blue, half of it's yellow. Like, you want them to come in and do a great job. So my stepdad taught me that. He taught me to do everything to the best of your ability. And then I think another thing about both of them, my mom and my stepdad, is they also taught me to leave things better than I found it. Like, if you're going to come in and you're going to take something from the kitchen, or you're going to take something from the toolbox, then it needs to be placed right back where you found it. And it needs to be cleaned.
Mm,
If you leave your dishes in the the dishes in the sink, then I'm in trouble that day when my mom comes home. I
mm,
used to get in trouble for that all the time because I empty my lunchbox in the morning, I pack it back up with food, and I leave the house.
mm,
And that was disrespectful to my mom because she works all day, she cooks dinner, dishes in the sink, she can't cook dinner. Now she has to clean before she cooks, and she's already tired from a long day of work provided for me and my family.
mm.
And so, like, I had to learn that at a young age. I had to learn how to be respectful. I had to learn how to leave things better than I found it. And I also had to learn how to be respectful and give my 110% at everything that I did.
Mm, mm. Man, and I got a good story about your mom. The reason why I say yes is because your mama. When I first got my first head coaching job, Miss Thomas was one of the first people that I met, and I said yeah to her, and she's like, "You mean yes?" And I promise you, man, I correct young people to this day. Yeah, like, yeah, who you talking to? Like, it's yes, you know. So, very good woman, very good woman. But I would say my upbringing definitely would have to come from a situation of my grandparents never allowed me to be a follower. It was always a leader. You're always in the forefront. You're always going to be a leader. I grew up in the church, grew up in Gary, Indiana, grew up with my dad, with my father, and they had us in church all the time. You talk about Sunday twice, Monday for a meeting, Wednesday prayer meeting, Thursday another, youth meeting, Saturday choir practice. It was like around the clock, but every time I could never like sit in the back, right? Can't carry a tune, can't carry a tune to lick. I could play a couple, a little bit of instruments, but can't carry a tune to lick. But I had to be up there in the choir singing. Usher, anytime it was Easter speeches, it was like, you're going to do this because I'm going to teach you what it is to be a leader. And honestly, I don't know how else to be. Going from a head basketball coach to an education firm, going from the top guy that everything comes through you to being one of the bottom guys on my team, even my teammates have talked about, we could just see where you can be in this career. We can see where you're going to be in this career. It's always like we could see the light at the end of the tunnel because we already see your leadership. And leadership's another conversation, but at the same time, it's important because I think that sense of leadership, I think that sense of confidence is part of professionalism. And that's where a lot of people miss out. And this is one thing that you and I've talked about in conversation, because I've pushed you and I've pushed you so hard from the time I met you when you weren't very good at basketball to the time that you went to college and, were top in the nation in 3-point shooting, to now an entrepreneur, to now a high school assistant. I've pushed you and pushed you and pushed you to let you to teach you that confidence is your number one thing. And that's something that builds up and builds up and builds up. And that's something of my upbringing that Britons are just like. That's us. We're very confident people. Nobody can destroy our confidence. I'm not here for you. And one thing that my grandparents taught me was Jeremiah 29:11, for I have a plan for you. And that was like my verse. It's in my head. It's everywhere that I go. It's because I know God's plan for me, and God's plan was to shape me and mold me to be a leader. Therefore, I'm not worried about what you think. I'm not worried about, I'm not worried about anything else. My professional life and my personal life is going to be good because of my leadership. Caitlin, as we're getting ready to wrap this up, I do want to, and I know we normally do call to actions, which we still will, but I just want you to wrap this up to how can this episode benefit our listeners?
I think it'll, work-life balance. I think that's important. I think everybody needs tips on how to be better at that. I mean, even have to start taking my own advice. I really had to reflect on that. I think also when you talk about communication and appearance, like, your standards might need to change on that. Like, you might have to reevaluate how you talk to people. You might have to reevaluate how you dress and go from there and see if you can better yourself through that. I think this episode is a call for reflection. I think every once in a while you need to sit back and look at yourself, look at your life, how you're living it, and see if there's any areas for you to improve. Like, I don't believe that I'm perfect. I don't believe that you're perfect. But one thing that both of us are very good at is seeing how we can do better. Everybody knows my motto, 1% better every day, but I can't get better tomorrow from today if I didn't know where I was weak at right now. You know, so I think that's one area where this episode can benefit our listeners. It's sit down, evaluate yourself, look how you're living your life, see what you love about it, see what you want to improve, and go from there. And just take some nuggets from this that you can apply and let it be that.
Right. And what I want people to take from it is, man, the reason why I wore my Mamba sweater, man, you know, it's really walk the walk and talk the talk, period. And everything that you do, walk the walk, talk the talk. It's like you just said, work-life balance. Are you really balancing your life? Are you really living your life? Do you really enjoy your life? You know, we talk about mental health all the time. You and I attend podcasts and we attend masterclass episodes, and we listen and we hear in on other coaches around the country talking about mental health. Like, this is a real deal. You know what I mean? But then look at your work-life balance. Are you really walking that walk? You know, when we talk about communication, are you a good communication? Are you even trying to be a good communicator? Talk the talk. You see what I'm saying? Are you just giving like little short nuggets, or are you really sitting down, expressing yourself? And are your communications succinct and clear so people understand and they can reflect? You see what I'm saying? So definitely want people to take from this episode, walking the walk, talking the talk, be you, be confident, be great. But at the same time, you know, let's get better. Like you said, reflection. So we're getting ready to wrap this up. Coming to our huddle like we always do. It's been a great time spending this time with you, Caitlin. Obviously, never short of amazing. Definitely loving this standard series because it's just me and you vibing, talking about the standards, talking about how we can get better at what we do. What is your call to action?
I would say, I'm gonna steal your words, but I want to say, figure out what you love to do, and rank that and see where it all falls, and try and do a better job of finding that balance. And then one thing I've been telling my players a lot at Holy Innocence is schedule some time for yourself every day. Schedule it. Like, we're so used to having people schedule our lives that when we get into a space where we have to do their own scheduling, we get lost. So start scheduling your day and schedule things into your day that you love to do that will refresh you and help you to recoup and bring more energy into your life. So schedule your day, do stuff that you love to do, and find what's important to you and make sure that you're doing it.
Man, that's a tough call to action. I like it. Man, I didn't even start scheduling my day till I started working in corporate America. So I know what it is to be on a schedule. I live on a calendar. I had to go get my license changed up today. And I told them, I said, hey, I need to get there Wednesday. She said, hey, what you got? I had to pull out my calendar. Like, I got this time right here. So schedule today, definitely a good one. Mine's going to be a little bit different, but at the same time, staying on the same vibe is we talk about cultural competencies in the job that I am in now. And I want you to become competent. And what that means is being confident, and then also not having an attitude like you know everything. Become competent. Open your eyes, open your ears, close your mouth. You see what I'm saying? Understand things that can make you better. This episode, this series right here is making me better because I'm looking at things that that I have to get better at. I have to look at myself deep down. I have to look at my friends in my inner circle deep down. Now we're looking at what it is to be professional versus personal life. So I want you to become competent. Take this episode, take what you're doing, open your eyes, open your ears, close your mouth, and reflect. Become competent on what you do and become confident in what you do. Caitlin, man, it's been a great time with you, man. I really enjoyed it. Man, you know 459 Coach is on fire. If you ain't getting in, you must be getting out. But at the same time, we want you to get in. We want you to bring your friends. Invite somebody. Invite somebody next time. Send them the link to the episode, YouTube, Spotify. Go out there and get your Jordan shirt. Go out there and get your Nike shirt. Mine's in the mail, so I can't wait for it to get here because I'm going to start rocking it on the show. If you need a hat, let your boy Coach B know. You can follow us on Instagram. Just get out there, and like I said, let's keep getting better. I'm going to leave you with this. Coach B loves you. Let love be the frequency.
And guys, remember, don't discount your value, and let's get 1% better every day.
All right. Peace.